mental health really regarded in Ghana? Absolutely not. I mean, well, it's rising in amongst the youth in Ghana recently, but with the adults, we are still trying to convince them that mental health is really an illness. Like you are sick when you are depressed. I mean, emotionally, psychologically, you're off. So yes, mental health is not regarded in Ghana.
Well, I think that if it comes to the issue of mental health, Ghanaians or Africans are being hypocrites about it. I know people come for me on that, but we see going to get therapy or going to see a shrink with regard to mental issue as you being mad. I don't know why we can separate the two aspects, that if you're sipping into too much sadness, if you're having anxiety, if you're having depression, like it's actually a sickness or an ailment, and then it's going to affect those around you. And then if it's going to affect those around you, I don't think you should be amongst, I'm not saying you should get rehabilitated, but you should get it checked and then have something done about it.
Yeah, I agree. It's not really a concern for most people in the country because, first of all, there is this negative stigma that, especially our parents, please don't come for me, our parents have put around that topic. As you said, if you have a mental problem or you are depressed or anything, the first tag that is given to you is that you are mad. So that is, and it has kind of pushed people to this point where I don't want to be associated with the tag of madness, and so therefore there is no way that I should say that I have a mental illness. And
we have to say someone is mad.
Yeah, I don't think the word is I am mad. It's more of the dramatic. The word is drama. The word is attention seeker.
Yeah, that's what they use.
Yes.
that is the second thing too, because no, with the stigma is the issue that people assume that when you say that you have a mental issue, you are mad. And then comes the second point where most Africans don't see mental illness or depression as a serious thing. As you said, it's something that is attention seeking. So depression shouldn't be, if you are saying that you are deeply sad, then why can't you, I think I've heard someone say, why can't you happy yourself if you are sad? So it's like people not only tag the madness on anyone who says I have a mental issue or I'm depressed, but they see them as attention seekers. You want people to feel bad for you, be sympathetic for you.
There's nothing wrong with that. Actually, mental health, to a small extent, it is attention seeking to be saved. I mean, if I didn't have a problem, I wouldn't come and say, hey, Josh, I'm about to kill it. No, I'm saying it because I actually want you to know that I'm going through a lot of things and I need saving.
Well, most people don't also like talking about it because they do not feel comfortable. Also, because the person might feel that, well, the person, I'm telling you something, but I'm just making a big deal out of it. It's nothing. You can just go and have a swim and you'll be fine. But then that's not the thing. You need help. You need help. That's why I'm coming to you. And also, I don't think it's an illness. You shouldn't wait for it to get to an illness. It's the little drops of water that makes a mighty ocean. Do you get it? It's like your boyfriend has broken your heart. I'm just giving an example. And you are just depressed because you really invested into it and you really did a lot of things for him. But it is the little things. You start, shunning your friends away. You want to be alone. You're crying and everything. And it builds up. And that's when the depression sets in. And it starts from the root. That's the basic. It starts there. Then you start, relating to, or you start going in for drinking. That's how people start getting addicted to alcohol, smoking, because you want something to make you happy. Because you need something to replace the happiness that you lost. Do you get it? So it's all the foundation. It builds up, and you gradually get into that phase of depression. And if you don't take care of it, you end up being on the streets. And I always say that the people on the streets don't just get there.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a foundation.
Thank you.
It's a foundation.
I think we need, myself, I've gone through an unlearning process, and that is what most of us need to do. We need to unlearn what we think depression or mental illness is. It's not a feeling, I think. I'm learning that it is not a feeling, but it is a state that you don't just choose to be depressed. It's not always that situation causes you to be depressed. I don't know, because there are people be like, you have a roof over your head, you eat every day, your parents are taking care of you, like you come from a good background. So what are you talking about depression for? I mean, you should be happy, you're living the life. Whilst me, I am this, that. I'm so unfortunate, but look at me, I'm not. So, someone who is in that state normally should not be depressed, right? That is if it is a feeling. But then I think is a state. I mean, is it a state? Like it goes beyond being a feeling to
being a reality.
Yes.
Living in it. I'm sorry, Candy, I know you want to say something. Well, coming to what Noni was saying about people on the street. I do really agree with her, because personally I do donations to homeless people on the streets, and sometimes when we're on the streets you can see a mad person, right, and like he's at the point of death, like he's shaking on the ground, and you're asking him if you can help him, and he's reached that point where he doesn't even need it anymore, he just wants to die. That is also suicide.
I think that why it's a major problem here in our part of the world is people regard it as weakness. And then there's this aspect of negative masculinity that we have a lot in this part of our world. Like, we hate to admit it, but like, that is the root cause of most of the suicides happening with the males in our part of the world. For women, they've agreed, or they've put us in the class of weakness, so then you don't see that. But for the males, this negative masculinity that we have in our country is really, really killing or making us, like, them sucking into bad behaviors and to this mental health issues. Yeah, mental health issues. For example, like, you have lost somebody, you want to cry, they'll tell you, I don't know, but they see crying as weakness, but it's a way of helping you to release the emotions you have in. If you cry, they'll tell you, Bema in soup. Or you get hurt, they'll tell you, Bema when you get, like, all this is carved in negative masculinity, and, like, they don't get it that they are making them hide or build up marks that are not them, and then they end up
indulging in, so we have like a high number of males now smoking and drinking and drowning their sorrows in molly and cocaine, and
but it's not everyone that who drinks and smokes that has mental health. I'm just ruling that point. It seems that
but most people that I have hanged with, my friends and stuff like that, you realize that the people that do drugs and alcohol tend to be very hyper, after they get into that mood. And the thing is that after the feeling goes off, they tend to be very calm, back to their normal state. And you realize that most of them are depressed. They have problems, they have issues. Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, they are very calm and sober, quiet, normal routine, which is very boring and stressing, because no social life until this weekend. And the thing is that a few people that I know have lost a sibling, a parent, and then during the day we can have a very normal, active conversation, interaction, and they go back home, and if you check their WhatsApp and stuff, very depressing things.
Not even with guys, right?
Yes.
Even with guys, and you hardly see the depressing aspect of it. But then a father, for example, a guy who has lost his dad is really going through it. But most people don't see it because they've, like you said, tagged him.
Yeah. So the unawareness has gotten very serious to an extent that, like, it is eating up guys so much. So much. And then we have emotions, you know, but our culture over here has made it very, very, very hard to, I mean, it's actually everywhere, but it's more serious over here. And the thing is that sometimes you really can't do anything about it because guys are like that. We don't have emotions, we are more blah, 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 blah. But let me tell you.
This is the reason why some men cheat too. Serious. Yeah. I'm sorry, go on.
You know, it's hard to open up. Right, sir, I'm depressed. I've had this issue months ago, which is still eating me up. I don't know how to be myself, and identity problems becomes an issue. So you are confused as to whether the person is like that or like this. But you see, well, I have kind of been in that situation before, so I know what I'm saying. You miss people, you try to interact with people, and you realize that like you were very off. I mean, after leaving them, you were very off. You were saying some things, you're acting very weird, but you think it's normal. So like sometimes you don't know what you are doing. Yeah. That's one like effect. That's one, you know, sign of mental health situation, depression or whatever.
Okay, I think we should have broken down like what mental health is. It's actually the emotional, psychological, and social and psychological well-being of a person, and you being able to deal and cope with the normal stresses of life. What are the normal stresses of life? As human beings, well, the home, family-related problems, socio-economic problems, dealing with money and everything, looking at yourself. As we grow, as adolescents, we face, changes and inferiority complex. And amongst the youth, that's the major ones amongst, the teenagers, adolescents, from class 7, Class 7, that's JHS 1. Grade 7, I was going to say grade 7. From class 5 going to JSS and then SHS, right? And these are all things that bother that circle of people. And it's very rampant because, when you go home and your house is, mommy bought me this, you have to be grateful. But then when you go to school, your friends are all playing and like you don't have this. It's all part of depression. You don't know that you're eating or it's not jealousy. I think it's not jealousy.
Nani, I want to put you on the spot. I want to know one personal experience you've had so I could relate to what you're saying.
I see.
My personal experience it's just happened recently. I'll just share one that happened recently. Okay. That I went through. That one is a panic attack and trauma. Yeah. And
I'm sure someone that told me saying, hey.
What is panic attack? Well, just recently, I thought it wasn't real till I actually fell in that situation. And my sister was like, you are not a psychologist yourself. I was like, please hold it. Well, so I got attacked in a taxi and on my way home from work. And I just couldn't believe it. It was a movie. I thought it was a movie. You know when you watch movies and then people are kidnapping people? At the moment when they covered my head in the taxi. Yes. The moment they covered my head in the taxi, I was like, Jesus, forgive me for all the sins I've done. Just because I thought I was going to die that day. Like, before a situation happens, you don't even know the future. I was just on my way home. I was talking to, I'll see you tomorrow. Or my mommy calls, I'm on my way home. I'll be there in 5 minutes. Then you sit in a taxi and then people attack you. So at that moment, I was just surrendering everything. Cut long story short. I was like, take everything you see in my bag. I just want my life. And at the end, I thought, because when they started doing things that I thought I was going to get raped, I was like, God, no, please no, because I know how it will affect you in the future. Yeah. So God being so good, it didn't get there, but then they dropped me off, they threw me out of the taxi and everything. In the moving taxi? Yes, they threw me out. And they told me that, and they told me to lie down for 10 minutes before I get up. After the torture in the car and everything.
What did they find in the bag?
I had money. They took my phone, unlocked my phone, demanded my mobile money pin and everything. Took all the money inside. Luckily I don't like carrying money, but that day, I don't know, I just had like some envelope of money in my bag. And I think that was even what saved me and God. Because I'm sure, most of the thieves, if you don't see it, no, like you've wasted my time. So that's when they'll even get bored. So after everything, they threw me out. I was so scared. And for that weekend, I couldn't walk out. Like, I didn't trust the policeman even when I went to the police station to, report the issue. Because, you have to put measures in place in the community to solve that. When I got there, I told my sister that, I don't trust them. What if the policeman is part of the people who, what if the policeman is part of the people who, they've collaborated to do that? And I was like, no, we should go. So I didn't write anything. I just left. It was part. That's a foundation, right? You don't trust anybody, so you're depressed. You cannot even talk to anybody. That's one. I got home. I couldn't sleep. Like, the thing started playing back in my mind for 1 week. I had to go to work because it's important. Who is going to let you stay in the house for 1 year? Just because it's important. Like, at that moment, I was like, this is very important. So my sister's friend even told me that I had to see a psychologist. At that moment, I couldn't refuse it because I know myself and I know how it was going to affect me. So I was like, okay, fine. I'll just see her and see how best. It will change my emotions and everything. I saw her, we spoke. And after that, I just felt good. And she was like, well, she thinks I'm strong. But then in my head, I was like, you don't know that I'm not strong. I'm just saying, like, I'm telling you how I feel. Well, maybe I'm strong because I probably help people. So, but then I wasn't. I was scared to pick a taxi. So I could stand by the roadside for like 20 minutes before getting into one. Just because I didn't trust any taxi. I had to look inside and see if the person was very authentic. My friends had to take me home from work. That was just part of it. But then I just grew through it. Like, she gave me some things to do, write how I feel every minute, how many times the thought comes into my mind. Like, every time, every interval, it will play back into your mind, right? Yeah. And at work, sometimes I just stop and then I start shaking because, I don't know, my heart just starts beating very fast, like, after that short period. And that was when I felt like a panic attack. I was scared. I felt very lost. I felt like my whole world had come. I don't know. I just felt so not myself. Like, this is not me. But then, like, through counseling and everything, I've been able to adjust. This was just last month.
And then
if you're going to talk, you have to also share your experience. Like, this is it now. Because I want to encourage someone watching this.
I will.
So just to conclude, seriously, it's very good seeking help. Seriously, from what I have experienced, it's very necessary. Because I thought I could do it on my own. But after I sought help, my friends also spoke to me and were trying to, intervene and tell me everything is fine, I shouldn't worry and all that. Just that alone gave me hope. It also gave me hope that I shouldn't be afraid. Everything will be fine. And from time to time, I've been able to adjust.
Conditions like anxiety and depression and panic attacks, they're usually classified as situations that are heightened by isolation. So the more you detach yourself from people or from things that make you happy, the more the occurrence is going to happen. So most times it's best to have someone to talk to. And most times people feel like, when you have malaria, just go and get some pills and then you're okay. But when you have like a mental illness, talking to somebody doesn't automatically make you better. And what's worse is that you tell somebody your problem and the next day the whole world knows about it. So that also kind of inhibits people from opening up to somebody because they don't trust who that person is going to share the information with. So people go like, I want to talk to somebody, but who do I trust? and then as a result they just keep everything inside and it keeps boiling up, and by the time you realize it's something that cannot be cured, or it goes beyond what they were expecting. So in as much as you want to talk to people, you should also understand that when whatever the situation you're in, if you decide to keep it to yourself, I'd also share a personal experience because I could relate to what you were saying.
Thank you in advance.
So if you decide to keep it to yourself, it's not going to end anytime soon. You're going to start questioning your self-worth. You're going to start questioning why you are here, and people start like giving out signs. I know people. Sometimes you can watch someone's status and you know that something is wrong with the person because of certain comments that they pass. It's like somebody can post a question that, so if I should die today, who would miss me? That's not trivial. Like, seriously, it's not just a question because they were curious about who's going to miss them. But sometimes they are unknown cries for help. They won't come to you straight and tell you that this is the problem I'm facing and I need help. But they have ways of giving out signals that I need somebody to talk to me. But they wouldn't come to you and say, maybe I need your help. So we should also be very sensitive to like things like that. We all have friends that we know are going through stuff, but I don't know if it's because of the fact that we feel uncomfortable talking to them about it, so we just decide to like brush it off and talk about other things.
I don't. Okay, well, aside being uncomfortable, I think it's also, and I'm taking it from my point of view. Most of the time, I don't talk to people because I feel like they will not understand what I'm going through. Yes. So then I end up talking about other things. Yeah. So I'm not like, I mean, there are other things aside.
Yeah. It's like maybe having a friend whose relative or like close person dies. Maybe you want to console the person, but you feel like constantly talking about the death of that person is going to put that person in a bad state. So then you just ignore the conversation completely and talk about something else. But then maybe in that particular time, the person needs to talk about it constantly to let go. You see, so in Africa, we have that shift, that cultural shift, where we ignore certain things that we feel are uncomfortable. But then sometimes it needs to be talked about, or conversations need to be said around those particular situations. So it's about we opening up to understand that mental health is actually that important. And it's not just about maybe young adults or kids. They are grown, like our parents who are also going through stuff, pressures from work, having to feed your kids, thinking about pension. Like maybe you're not in a very stable job, so you ask yourself, when you hit your pension, how are you going to survive? So there are so many things that even parents go through, but they can't look weak in front of their kids because it sends a bad message, and they don't really have anybody to talk to as well. So they just bottle everything in, and you end up having abusive parents because it's like it's a reaction. So and if they don't open up to the kids also grow up and become like them because they didn't have that exposure from their childhood, and when they grow, they also can't open up. So it's something that is like a cycle. You just have to start for our sakes now. Well, like I think with the rate at which the world is going, things are much more open. People get to learn from other people and other stuff. So if we start now, we are sure that our kids will have like a better future or a better understanding of what mental health is and how to take care
and to add up a little to what she said, with our parents not being able to open up to people, to their children, to their siblings, you see the mistake most people who are unaware when it comes to mental health is that when they are depressed, when things are happening with them and they begin to experience certain unusual changes, they tend to be very spiritual about it. Yes, I
think it varies.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, of course.
It depends on the case.
Of course it does. But if, for example, you don't used to, I mean, talking to yourself is normal. But people,
Really?
oh, of course, it's normal. But you see, it depends on the kind of conversation you're having with yourself. When you're experiencing a very serious mental health situation, you tend to be saying things like, and you know what? I've actually heard someone saying very dangerous stuff, like they were alone and speaking to themselves. I mean, it's a very serious sign. You know, the very first sign of mental health is like when a baby is born. the baby cries and
a child.
no. What? No. What I'm saying is, the world is a very cruel place. Like it or not, you can be the most richest person on earth. You will go through some mental health situation sometimes to come. It could be health or anything. So we shouldn't be ignorant about it in the sense that, oh, okay, I check my diets, I don't eat late, blah blah, so I can't get depressed. No, it's not like stomach ache or head. What?
Have you been depressed?
Of course.
I would like to hear about it.
I'll share that, but I'm just trying to make a point that, like,
I think dealing with depression is super expensive. And I also don't think that talking to someone is the only best answer. You have to know how to deal with yourself before you come to me and speak to me.
That's not to what?
You have to know how to deal with it yourself before coming out to speak to me. How many of us here know of at least 5 defense mechanisms? No.
Defense mechanism.
Repression, denial, nationalization,
but you know how they all works. They all work, and then when to use.
Because they all come in stages.
Perfect.
Like the 6 stages of depression.
Perfect. So then the whole issue is when it comes to depression and anxiety, it has to do with the mind. It has to do with the conflict between the ego, the id, and the superego. So these two are fighting. Who suffers? The ego. So the ego is the one going through the anxiety and the depression. So if you don't know how to handle your ego, definitely when you come and you speak to me, trust me, I'll spew nonsense. You understand? So know how to deal with it. I don't say don't talk to someone. Talk to someone. But then you should be able to know how. So it begins with yourself. If it's this what you're going through, try and then solve it at your own level before you speak out to someone. And know whom you are giving your information to.
Exactly.
We were debating about counselling. The nature of our country kind of like permits pastors to be counselors, which I disagree. You understand? Being a pastor or a preacher doesn't make you a counselor. You understand? Yes. Really? It doesn't make you a counselor.
It doesn't necessarily make you a counselor.
But that is why I have an issue with a pastor of a church who's giving marriage counseling.
Don't mistake marriage counseling to mental health counseling.
I'm just saying.
It's not for everyone. There are some Bible schools that, as part of the system, you have to go through a course on counseling.
Yeah, so
because you give
a course
No,
on
but
counseling.
not most.
But I'm going through
Okay, then
depression.
you
I'm going to speak to my pastor. Get this.
It depends on the individual. What I'm saying is, it depends on the individual. A pastor can guide you depending on your moral. That's what I'm saying. If you speak to me on a moral level and then it will help me, fine, I'll speak to a pastor. If I need to speak to a psychologist to give me psychotherapy, I'll do that. If I need to add the two, I'll do that.
And I also believe that, our pastors of today, they don't come from the approach of spirituality. Well, personally with my pastor, he deals with supposed to be, and then if
It could be your pastor went to a counseling school.
Not all
My pastor
pastors.
didn't go to her pastor didn't go to a counseling school. So we shouldn't direct every issue to our pastors. We have professional counselors, though they are few, and you can't even know them. Do you know of any counseling firm in Ghana? I've never heard of it. It's always tagged with a church or a school. Even in a school, the counselors, are they social workers? Are they psychologists? They are first degree holders in economics, geography, and sociology. But because
I think
But can I
they
cut in with
actually
something?
have gone through the process. Because how can you be a counselor in a school without,
Can I just cut in? Can I just cut in?
or even
like as an example, some senior high schools, you have the chaplain as a counselor.
That is because while they're in the school, they have to go through that kind of session.
The chaplain
No,
wasn't
give me
a
an
pastor.
example. Do
The
you
chaplain
know
is a
someone?
CSL teacher.
No, do you know someone?
I'm doing the point.
of course,
I'm doing the point.
Yeah,
Yes.
or maybe it's
Then
an
now I
anomaly
can-
because it doesn't have to be that the fact that you teach CSR automatically makes you a
Makes you
chaplain.
a- yeah. No,
Because in my school we had an actual reverend as a chaplain and there was a different CSR teacher. So maybe in that space it's because of lack of
You had
resources.
a
That's why
counselor.
they had to
No, my issue is-
make do with him being the chaplain.
Hold on.
Your school had a counselor.
Your school
Can I
had a
ask?
counselor.
He said,
Yes, he had a counselor.
no, my school didn't have a
Okay, whose
counselor.
school had a counselor?
best
Before you leave.
My
Senior high school.
Senior
Counselor.
high school.
Do you know the qualification of the counselor?
You should have done something related to psychology.
Something related.
Hold on.
So it comes
I'm
to
not giving
education.
an example of someone you know.
But then my point is that you know, pastors go to school, priests go to school, and it's like you go studying economics, and as part of economics or something, you do something that has to do with maybe economics of scale. I don't know inside economics, so you learn an aspect of that. A priest or a reverend pastor or something goes to pastoral school. There's in the syllables counseling, because you are going to deal with people. Unless, of course, you don't take that course, then the church will not appoint you as a counselor.
Let me say something. How many?
Guys, do you mind if I just
Wait, but one question, please. Then I'll let you speak.
I also have one
See,
question, but-
how many of the pastors in our country go to pastoral school? Most of them come as pastors through I had a calling.
No, that's not
You go to
They don't go to pastoral school.
They do. The auditors do their, like, I mean, if you are going to set up a church.
Okay, come in.
That's the point of the auditors.
Let's not deviate from the topic.
Please, let me ask you a question. Did Obinim go to pastoral school? I'm asking a question. No,
You asked me a question, I have no answer. But for all you know, he could have, because I'm sorry, he could have, because he has an established church, right? They are going to collect money. The government are going to come for their share of the.
It's now that the government is actually trying to take that initiative that you can't be a pastor without having to go to pastoral school. But right now that we are talking,
As our issue as a country and as young people is research. We don't do research.
You don't do what?
Research. Not academic research, but then we don't do research. I'm going to see a counselor. Of what caliber is that counselor? I just see a counselor and I enter.
No, but you know that usually, if you really go down to the ground, it's the elite that actually sees psychologists and counselors, because
the whole point is,
they understand
let me
that
learn.
level. And even let's assume that I have a problem and I want to see a counselor. We have like suicidologists, we have actual counselors that deal with depression.
As coming to that point,
specialized in
that
anxiety,
she said
some are
a course
specialized
of
in, like,
psychology. Let's say there's a
accidents.
course of
You'd have
psychology.
to
The fact that I read a course of psychology doesn't make me a psychologist.
Yes, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
But then at the end of the day, because of lack of jobs, I established a firm.
So
and I
which
tagged
auditor
myself.
is going to when the government is bringing banks down because they don't have the documentation?
I think we're debating.
We're debating a bit and nobody wants. You see, from listening to everybody, I can see that 1, 2, 3. You have a lot of interactions with people you feel have education in relation to psychology. When it comes to pastors, the three of you should consider the fact that maybe it is only something that you are like privy to having. Yeah, you are exposed to that. Not everybody is exposed to that. So if you are saying that, like pastors and like they have to have gone through some kind of training because you've met people who have gone through that kind of training, doesn't mean that generally all of them have gone through that training. Now before like I'm just putting that point out there. So let me but it seems that they are coming from the point where I'm saying that they are certain but you are saying that before they become pastors they have to have gone through that training. But then there are pastors who didn't go through that training. And most of them are seen as counselors. Now, hold on. Let me finish it. You guys have spoken a lot. I want to say, Roy, you guys have said a lot. I was just making a point. I was just making a point so that you see why.
You have the evidence.
I was just making a point so that you see why the two of them are not agreeing with you. Okay. I was just making a point so that you see why the two of them are not agreeing with you. That's it. Now, in relation to this whole matter, you see, we sometimes forget that it has to do with the brain. The brain, the physical thing in your head, goes through a lot of stress each and every day. Releases a lot of antitoxins each and every day. And we, the people, especially in this country, we don't have ways to cope with those releases. Like the older generation, they were very lucky because they weren't exposed to too many things, too many like too many things coming at them at all angles. They had simple coping mechanisms that helped them. Spiritualism, it helped them a lot. But our generation, even a 5-year-old sees more than 1,000 adverts each and every day. That's a 5-year-old brain compared to then. Now has to process over 1,000 adverts each and every day. These, sorry, I want to make my point. So, this child's mind has gone through more stress than somebody who was in that time. All that stress in that little child, and it comes down to our entire generation going down from that child all the way to even us sitting here. Every day we are bombarded with different things, constantly, different things. And the same coping mechanisms that helped our parents and their grandparents is the same one that everybody is using. Where? Spiritualism. We're not saying it doesn't work. It's a way that it has helped some people. But if you are telling me that, let's say for instance, spiritualism in it is you can use the Bible. Like a lot of psychologists say that. Let's not relegate the Bible. A lot of psychologists will say let's not take the Bible out of this. Like it has stories that helps you cope. Like at the end of the day, or when you take out all the religious connotations out of it, the stories there are ways to help you cope. There are stories of people who went through difficulties, and you're supposed to look at them and apply them to yourself. Now that is understandable, but that is then. But as time has gone on, the essence, the understanding of and using that to understand yourself. But as time has gone by, and we are a lot now. We are a whole lot. Back then, when they were writing the Bible, were they even? Can you even tell if they were 1 million, 1 billion? Between 2012 and now, how have we increased? We've increased for 2 billion. And you have to, each and every one are cramped up, and we have to cope with each other. If for instance, let me say, and this is something that a lot of people have to do with, and I notice it when people are talking to me. You see, when someone comes to speak to you, and I feel that a lot of pastors do that. It is not about you who they are speaking to. It is about the person. Most people don't listen. All they want to know is that, let me hear the problem. If I can relate to it, immediately, no, I'll answer it for you. They are not listening. One of the things that helps people cope is having people to listen. Before you listen, you haven't even listened to the entire problem. You're already thinking of ways that you know to solve their problem. You haven't listened to them. And we also do this thing where immediately, and it's here, in Africa especially, immediately you say something is wrong with you, someone else just goes it's let's compare who has suffered more. Let's compare who has suffered more. Your issue.
I think it's a coping mechanism as well, because they try to tell you that no matter how bad your situation is, somebody is going through worse. So that should kind of give you some comfort that
people take it. You see the way people put it across, and I want to use
my story, even though maybe your story is 10 times worse.
Don't tell me your story. It is my story that you have to listen to, and I want to use her as an example.
Where you are saying that the same coping mechanism for different scope of problems. So right now the solution is that you ask the problems are increasing, the scope of having to deal with it should also increase to match the problems. Because if you are telling me that you are under depression or you are having anxiety attacks, and let's say the conventions or the situations I was using to solve it back 30 years ago is not working for you now, then what does it mean? It means that you have to try something else. But people are not open to that kind of change.
They want to
because of maybe cultural restrictions or something like that. People are not open to that change, and religious restrictions as well. So it's all about we being open to the fact that it works for other people. I think if you look at the gap between the Western world and then the third world countries, you realize that there's a big difference in how they cope with their stress and how we cope with our stress. So you look for, there's no harm in learning from somebody if it works for them. You can try it. If it works in your situation, great. If it doesn't work, you just try something else. But don't just say that this is how we do things. So I'm going to do it as I know. And if it doesn't work, then probably because
we don't even believe in meditation.
I want to because it's a lot.
But no one is even mentioning meditation. how it helps.
I'll even come to that. I'll come to
A lot of
that.
people don't know how to meditate.
A lot of people's idea of meditation is bad. But let me just finish it. Like, I wanted to use her experience as an example. You've gone through PTSD. Now, a lot of people don't know what that is, number one. And a lot of people's way of coping with it is to say, first of all, sorry. Second of all, somebody will come and tell you that, immediately you say it, somebody will be sitting there and then they will just come in. Hey, do you know, Vito, I went through a similar thing. They've immediately come to cut your story out, to mention their story. So it's like, everybody has a problem. Nobody is listening. So let me wait till somebody brings it up. And then I cut in and I say it. You are not going, yours is not dealt with. It's still there. So in the end, it leads up. It's building up. As everything is. If you watch a movie now, if you watch a movie where you see something similar, it's going to bother you. People's way of coping now, like we don't have ways, as you were saying, of coping with these things. Meditation. If you say meditation right now, and a lot of people who are watching will tell you, their parents saw them meditating and thought they were chanting to a devil somewhere.
I also don't think that's the only thing.
Your mind.
But people are not aware of that.
Busy.
People
to meditate.
I can sit here right now.
The economy is not allowing meditation. Like that's the problem.
Meditation just involves like I don't even need to sit on the floor, go into
definitely.
stuff. I can be sitting here right now the way I'm sitting. I put earpieces on, binaural songs.
Before I know it, I thought of money is crossing your mind. It's not
that's the thing. That's what meditation is about. It's supposed to be it's not even blocking it out. It's like letting that thing come into your mind and realizing that no, this is the time where I am meditating. So stay here for a while. When I'm finished, then I'll bring it in. But it takes a lot of effort too. People are not ready to go through that effort.
Mental health in Ghana is not gaining weight because those who actually handle it are greedy people. I'll tell you why.
And they are not even.
They come and tell us that.
Who even weighs the professionals? Like,
No, they come and tell us, oh, you have inferiority complex, but they won't tell you that we also have what superiority complex. They won't tell you that. They come and tell you. They come and tell you.
Just the bare minimum parts
so
and
tell us the
explain
good
it to
parts.
you.
Tell us that once we have inferiority complex, we also have what superiority complex. So you must balance the two to get what the principle of what homeostasis. You come and you mention it to us, and you tell us that once you have this issue, come and talk to me because you pay me at the end of the day. You understand?
Yeah.
So then at the end of the day, you realize that the problem is like this. It keeps moving and moving and moving. No matter, I don't have money to afford a psychologist. So what do I do? Do I talk to a friend? Teach me how to handle it.
The thing is, it's about not having enough psychologists. In Ghana or in Africa, no, we study psychology, but then the markets, you know, they'll tell you to get a profession, a lawyer, be a banker, a doctor, something like that. You study psychology and you be like, so who be you then?
And also add to the fact of that those who study psychology, you realize those who study psychology.
I don't know you. No.
No, it's not a matter of
It's not.
You've not even gotten there. Do you know that you don't have to get like, it's not just a bachelor's degree that determines you're a psychologist.
I know.
On the global scale, it's actually a PhD. But because we don't have a lot of PhDs being produced in Africa, they've reduced it for us to a master's degree. So listen, you finish your undergrad. Already now, you're going to do national service. There are not enough avenues for you to even go and practice what you did in school. You studied psychology, they put you in a bank, or they put you in some company that deals with petrol. So at the end of the day, you don't even get to appreciate what you learned. Then before you realize, you change your career path.
It's not even
because you didn't get exposed to it. Even the few ones that end up doing something relating to that,
the economy doesn't support.
they come back as psychologists. You know, governments cannot pay psychologists.
What will they say to you?
You've not abandoned yourself from becoming partner.
No, the thing is that
Nothing stops you from helping people. Even if you are working in a bank, nothing stops you from talking to people. You see, one of the things that I've noticed is that
There are industrial psychologists, right? There are different types of psychology. But in Africa, in Ghana, how many companies have psychologists in their companies? It's not about the branding. They won't employ you.
What the psychologist? He asked the question. What was the question?
No, she is saying that there is industrial psychologists, but then they are not kind of like
Which company have you seen an industrial like go and see the site?
Because
It's not.
because they've not marketed them.
It's not because of branding.
Okay.
It's not because of,
Example.
it's because of people do not even want to go and speak to
Yeah.
other people.
Exactly.
People do not want to go and speak to people about their problems.
A question.
But even that's not.
If they are there, I'll go.
Yes.
That's not even the main issue.
When you come to Legon, they have careers and guidance.
Guidance and counseling.
Perfect. Who are those working there?
The counselors.
I've
Counselors.
personally seen
Counselors.
the counselor there.
Why did we employ them in that school?
To help the students.
Support.
Just
Do students go to them?
Yes.
Perfect. So the same way, if you're able to brand yourself out there, you are an industrial psychologist with this number of years of
No,
experience.
but
Here
don't
is the
forget
problem.
that
Here
the
is the
youth
problem.
are more receptive.
At the end of the day,
If you have a firm or a business and there's an office, a counselor, or whether we know there's a counselor there, I'll walk in if I have an issue, I'll walk in.
my point is
Companies are not even looking for
exactly that's my point.
No, it's not
It's
that.
not about their branding. They will not even employ is there. They'll tell you the HR.
So I worked as as an assistant psychologist in the hospital for my national service. So I'm speaking from like the professional point of view, and when it comes to like getting employment in that sector. Do you know that the government cannot pay clinical psychologists?
You cannot pay. I don't get it.
You know, like every job has like a specific amount of salary that they're supposed to earn. You know that if governments can actually pay them, they are supposed to be like the highest earning people. It's supposed to be more than even 7,000 CDs per month. But the government cannot pay. So even in my hospital, there are people that come in. They've gone to do their masters. They are fresh. They have so much energy to come and work, and they go to hospitals to go and apply for a job. They tell them they don't have a space for a psychologist. Not necessarily because they don't have a space. No. It's not about seeing your work. See, there's something called experience. If you go and apply for a job and they tell you that bring your work experience, how do you
Not like another
Like,
job.
how
But
do they not see
I mean, I'll build a school. I'll get a teacher because I know what the worth of that teacher in my school. So brand yourself out there. Have you heard of the profession social work?
Sweetheart.
I must-
I don't know where you're coming
A question,
from.
a question.
If number one, they can't see.
No.
Number two, the people who even
hold on.
can't see the help can't see that they now
They are living in denial or repression because they know that.
I've realized something. I've realized something.
I've realized something. And I have a lot of friends who have done psychology. Me, I didn't do it because at the time what I took. No. I saw the importance. I wanted to do it, but what I wanted to do, and that's like there were areas around it that I wanted to avoid, so I went somewhere else. Now, one of the things that you notice when you enter a class of psychology is that most of the people there already are suffering from issues. That's one of the main reasons why they are there. That's one of the main reasons why they even know what psychology is. So they went there because one, it's something that I deal with every day. It will be easy for me. If a question comes and I'm supposed to psychoanalyze anything, I use my experience. It's easier for them. When you finish, you go through all that jazz, and you finish. You come out, as you're saying, brand yourself. But all of us who went there are people who have issues, and those who don't have issues probably didn't see the need to go and do psychology because it's not. I'm not. If I do a doctor, if I do psychology, am I a doctor? Am I a lawyer? Does it pay me? You who had the idea, like I want to help people, went there. When you come out and you brand yourself and put it there, already this our world. They don't want to go there because they don't have knowledge about it.
So the branding doesn't include yourself alone. Kind of like grooming people to know your worth.
They don't want to go there because
So you should
already
be
they have
chasing
the
people.
negative.
I feel like Emmanuel is getting it. Like I
him
understand this point, but he's turning it in a different angle. You know, when you for technical roles, I don't know about non-technical roles, but for technical roles like maybe medicine, dentistry, technicians and stuff like that, when you come out, there's nothing like you were talking about experience. The person who's going to employ you doesn't know your worth. How do you get experience if you don't actually work? Do you get what I'm trying to say? It's like you can't tell me, show me your experience when you are not giving me the opportunity to work. How would you know the kind of person I am? You get it?
What you said about
So the issue is that the environment is not even conducive.
We are talking too much about career than mental health.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
What I was saying was that the environment in itself is not conducive for people who have studied psychology to come and practice.
So do they sit down?
Pardon?
Do they have to sit down?
Most of them either further to go and do a PhD and come and teach. I know so many lecturers who have said that they came back with their masters, but because they didn't get the opportunity to practice, they decided to go further, do a PhD and come and teach, because that's the only way they're going to get money. Yes, you can't sit down at home with your masters and then call yourself a psychologist when people are not coming to you. You get it. Or they divert to other fields.
So my issue, that is why Ghanaians, you have a bunch of professors, but we can't even do matches. We can't even do. We can't produce matches because I'm just. We have engineers who those professors in something, but they can't even produce matches because they go out there, learn the book, and come and bombard us with books. My issue here is I'm a banker. She's a banker. If she's an employee, is an employer, and he's about to employ both of us or one of us. On what basis will you employ myself before her or her before me?
It depends on the role.
Role and what?
It depends on your role, your attitude.
We have the same qualifications. So what other things will you look out for?
The interview.
Let's say we all meet the requirements, but then I have let's say something that she doesn't have.
What is the something?
What is the something?
It could be because, okay, I've never worked in a bank before, but then
Reginald, we've deviated.
We would, but then assuming that we've all not worked in a bank before, but then I've been able to just produce a bank, something like a banking something that she has not been able to do it. What be your first impression?
Well, you've gone the extra mile to do research.
So they should go the extra mile to put themselves on the map. So we patronize them.
You think people haven't done that?
They have. I've not seen. I've not
People
felt
have
it.
tried.
How?
People have tried.
Example. How?
I've seen billboards. I've seen billboards. I don't know how long those billboards of this person who was saying that they have a counseling office has been there. Like, I don't know how long that billboard has been there. You don't know when they started advertising themselves, but they've tried. They've put themselves out there. But then at the end of the day, it still comes down to we the people. Most of the people are not receptive to that kind of thing. They've already decided that the stigma and then whatever negativity comes around it, I don't want to go there. Let me just even make this point. At the end of the day, when you have learned your psychology and all that, and you finish and you come back, if you are not making money, it's not going to help. Like, everybody's mindset is that I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer. It's mostly because one of the main coping mechanisms that people need is money. Before you can even go to the mental hospital, before you can get anything, if you don't have money, that even adds to the stress, that even adds to whatever is going on in your head. If you don't have money, that is a problem. They can't brand themselves if they don't have money. They can't, if nobody is coming there and they don't have money, it doesn't help them. So they can't brand themselves. They can't put awareness out there that come to me and I'll help you. And the money too is the main coping issue that we have here, because now everybody's mindset is that if I want to cope, let me go to Royal Safari, let me go to the mall, let me go to the money comes. No, but it's not like an excuse though, but it's like it's the way that if you don't have it there, like it's those who have it who have like a means of coping. The means of accessing a lot of things that already eliminates them from some of the stress of depression. Because if you have money, you are not going to have that kind of I'm depressed because I can't pay my child's school fees. You have there's another thing you are depressed about. But most people, because we're a poor nation, most people's main stress is that I don't have money.
See, that is why
it even brings that divide.
It's not. That's why I said it's not a feeling. It's not because of I do not have this. That is why I am that. Some people, I don't know. Like, everything is set, but there's just something. There's something that causes them to be depressed, to be sad, and it's uncontrollable. I don't understand it as I am, because thankfully I don't feel that kind. I don't feel that kind of way. I don't feel depressed and all that. But then people feel a certain way. Like, you are chatting with somebody here, you think the person is happy, but the person is not. And it's sad that they hide it from you, and sometimes they expect you to already know. But you can't know if they don't tell you. And they can't tell you because the person that they have probably told the first time
couldn't do anything,
told them nonsense.
And sometimes they can't even do anything about it.
That's a very deep.
Yeah, so you're being too emotional.
Yes.
Get it together.
And a lot of people's reactions actually put you off if you want to seek help.
Yes.
Because if, let's say, you are having an issue
you're prone to talk too much. You go on and on and on. You drown out all your sorrows. And somebody who is there saying, will just cut you short and say, hurry up. What's your point? You are not suffering. It is just a feeling. Like, I don't know if a lot of people, like, if you've been in a group where someone goes the extra mile of explaining themselves, then you see how people are kind of like, do these things where they put ... sigh, hurry up. What's your point? Like, immediately, most people's reaction is to shut you down. Because you are talking too much. Don't bring your negativity.
Because you've not been trained to accept them. So let me know that if this is happening. So who educating me? That's my point.
But sometimes to people who catch you off like that, sometimes they are also going through worse. So what you are saying is, if they're able to get through it, then what you are saying is nothing. It's going to be a feeling in their perspective.
Do you know? It's very difficult for someone to relate to how you're feeling if they haven't experienced it. And then usually people that respond to you, maybe privately, not in the group chat, are people that have experienced it and probably understand how you feel. So I feel like most of the times people are just ignorant. It's not like they also are going through it and they don't want to talk about it. They are really just ignorant, because you should be able to sense from how people talk when they are going through some really like deep problems. Maybe just a sentence, just a reply, you have to know. But if that's not an excuse to say that maybe they are probably going through something I don't want to talk about. I don't.
Even psychologists have issues.
Can I wait, please?
Exactly. I did a research where they say psychologists even commit, like they have to they commit interviews.
Because they are listening to so many.
Who are you listening? Yes. So who is going to listen to you?
So I want to say something first, and then I'll give a testimony or like a personal experience. I'll give a personal experience, and then we. So the thing is, I don't think I want to debunk the thing about money, because there are rich people that commit suicide because they've been in depression. There's a lot of these celebrities that we've heard that are having all their lives, like we wish we have their lives, and then you hear it, they've written a suicidal note and then they're dead. You can't put this whole issue based on money, that money helps you. You can have money and still be depressed. I want to debunk what you said. And then the issue in our society is, I feel the people here haven't accepted mental health. They live in a state of denial. So even if you open up a firm, nobody's going to show up there because they don't know. They won't accept the fact that I have mental health.
About the branding part, you brand yourself, but
nobody's gonna be there. But then I feel that a way to help make that situation better is if we start talking. I know people are doing that on social media platforms. I'm following quite a few people that are bringing awareness to mental health. It's something I also do most often if you're following me. Like, we speak about it, and then I feel that the reason why most of our counselors or pastors our pastors are tagged counselors, or our counselors would push you towards the biblical side, is because that is what has worked for them. And then they can't recommend something that hasn't worked for them. That is why most of them are always referring you back to the Bible. And I have been in a state of depression. In that state, somebody is going to say, I have everything together. Why would I be in the state of depression? But there's I don't know if we all realize it, but we have stages in our life. Even the Bible says there's a time for everything. But then most people, we go through a waiting phase in every aspect of our life, and we all don't realize that we have a waiting stage. And then you seem to be lost, not knowing if to take here, or like you're in the center. And then that's where, in a situation where most of us slip into depression. We don't, to buttress what he said, we haven't found ourselves or haven't figured out who we are as a person. So then you wouldn't even know that, okay, I'm going through this waiting stage, and then I have to do this and this before you come out to talk to somebody about what you're going through. So in my stage, I went through depression, but I came out of it myself. I went like, it was bad. I isolated myself from my friends. For that period, if I didn't come out to tell anybody that I was in a state of depression, they wouldn't have known that this was what was wrong with me. And one thing that helped me was journaling. Though I didn't have anybody to talk to, I was always saying how I felt or what was going on through my head. Like, I was writing it down. And then I isolated myself. But then what helped me was the Bible and praying and talking to myself or talking to God or the higher person. And that was how I came out of it. It was when I came out of it and then I started talking about, mental health is true, or like my Twitter, that's what's there, or my IG. I'm always posting about people coming out of it. And then people now come out and say, why are you depressed? I'm like, no, I've been there before. And then I want it to be recognized because a lot of people don't accept it. Like, they'll go like, get out of it. It's a feeling, you should come out of it. So I feel the way that we can get it out is when even the psychologists that have come out, if they go out and offer free services to people, like push them to help them to talk or come out from the states that they are in, it would get the awareness out, and then people will get to know about mental health and then how to deal with it.
I also think that most people follow a lot of celebrities or social media influencers. What if we can get these people to also talk about mental health? Because in a day, I'm sure someone listens to Equiapim Polo. Like,
these people are really depressed.
Some of them are depressed.
They say it's lonely at the top.
Can we make enough noise for them to recognize, to push it out, and eventually reach out to our governments that your people need help?
And another thing you spoke about it's not jealousy, but like you comparing, like you spoke about a child going to school comparing. I think that another way, the times that I was going through depression, people I took off all my social media. People didn't understand, but there's a point in time where you have to do a detox. Because there's so much information that you're feeding in. I think another defensive mechanism for mental health is you have to detox yourself from it. Because you get too addicted. You start comparing your life and acting like your life is a race with the person you're seeing online. So if you see yourself slipping into that darkness, another way I feel can help you is detoxing yourself from the social media platform.
Tried one day and I installed everything back.
It's discipline. I did it for 2 weeks. I went off.
I was lonely.
I haven't been on social media for close to a year now.
Yeah, that's there, but I can't.
You can use that energy into go into something.
I agree with her. I changed my phone and it had a lot of apps. Now I don't. It cut me off from a lot of people. And it helped me move forward. And you're right, we feed a lot of information from social media, our friends, the people we follow. So if we are able to cut off and then start from the beginning, you only pick the people that you need.
Yeah, I think in seeking help, as a professional psychiatrist or shrink, I think even if you're a Christian, I think you should attack the issue from a professional point first.
That was the initial point.
Yes, before you chip in your spirituality and what you believe in, because if you start with religion or I'm a Jesus boy, so if you start with Jesus like this and this person that has come to you is not really into that, you push the person off. And some people already they tag it to demons and things like that. If you are attacking something, it will never work.
You need to understand the person and know how to attack and help.
So you need to listen.
Yes, there's this app called 7 Cups. It's an app where people go to just talk about their problems. There are people who go there to talk about their problems, and they are listeners, and they are professional shrinks on the app. So this app, I joined the app to be a listener, and before you become a listener, they give you a text to read, and you go through some tests on the app. They tell you that you should always listen, because when you listen to their problem, you know the right kind of questions to ask. So you ask them questions based on what they have said, not based on what you think. Because if you speak to them, I did this, I did that, and you speak to them, asking them based on what they have said, they feel like, okay, this person is listening to me, so I can feel free to talk more about this thing. So you give them the opportunity to talk, and then the app says that you shouldn't advise them. You should make them understand it themselves and let them advise themselves. So if they ask you for advice, don't give them advice. And that app is good. I don't know, the first time I listened to someone, I wanted to run away because people are really
going through a lot of things.
So we should listen. We should listen.
Not hear.
My experience.
Listen, not hear.
Panic attack.
my experience. I mean, Noni shared hers.
But I'll share yours.
So like 5 years back or something, I was traveling from Kumasi to Accra, and I had a very serious accident. Like, the driver actually had to get out of the car because the brake wasn't working anymore. Yes, it's not a movie. Oh, no, for real. Actually, I mean, fortunately for us, it wasn't really speeding. There was traffic, but I mean, it was moving. So he had to get out of the car, and it went to hit something. So the car had to somersault, and we were in this like that. So people had to come for us. You know, long story short, after that incident, a car came for us. We were going. Even the potholes on the road, it shook me, and I was really scared. Fast forward to like 2 years, I was in a church from Medina to Legon. We got to Airport Junction, and the tire burst. I screamed like a bitch. What the fuck? The very serious about it is that, like, I didn't think I would do that, because initially I had been in cars that things happened, but I didn't scream. So the panic attack is really real, like.
I think in natural sense, we should just be nice to people, be more receptive, and just be like, have the listening ear to understand before you speak. Listen, understand, soak it in before you talk. Get to know the person before you just start blabbling. And I think we should just, raise awareness on the need for mental health awareness, and how it's important in this society, and we should stop all this local thinking.
Be nice to people.
And I would also suggest that the way to make mental health awareness or mental health care relevant starts from the top. It's not just about people who are suffering from it taking a stand. It's about systems being put in place right from the beginning. Because if you're a mad person and you're on the street, we're not even supposed to say mad. Let's say if you're schizophrenic and you're on the street, you don't have the opportunity to walk into a hospital and say, I have this problem, so give me a solution or something like that. There should be systems in place to make sure that for people who can't help themselves, there's a solution for them. So it starts from the top. Laws should be implemented. There should be bills. There are people who would go for walks and people who would like champion causes that you ask yourself why. But then there are other important issues like mental health awareness that actually affects everybody. It doesn't matter whether you are rich or you are poor, because if I'm a poor person and maybe my cause of worry is money, a rich person's cause of worry could be satisfaction in life. So there are a lot of situations that would bring about mental health problems. So what we have to do is that in as much as we learn to know ourselves right from the beginning, we should also put measures in place to support each other. There are people who have, like your foundation, for instance, what you champion is mental health awareness. So maybe for you, because people in the villages might not have access to psychologists or psychiatrists or community mental health workers, what you can do can help them detect that at a very early stage, I'm going through this, so I need to seek help. And they don't necessarily have to go to the hospitals. By even communicating with the people around them, they can be provided with some sort of psychological first aid.
And lastly, one thing I want to add is, let's not forget about our kids out there. Okay, coming from taking my own experience, when I was 13, I actually went through self-affliction. At the age of, it was even less, because it was like, class 3. Class 3, I was cutting myself. And I didn't have anyone to talk to about, I'm going to talk to my mother. That's, I'm cutting myself because I'm depressed. She wouldn't even understand what I'm going through. And I was in that hole because I was being bullied by a friend. I was being bullied by a friend, and we didn't admit that it was bullying.
Yes.
Yeah, because in our schools, in our Ghanaian schools, bullying is not a thing. But if I have a friend in making me look, if I have a friend who is going to get me lowered or is going to bring me down, and I'm just going to go ahead and laugh with it, it's still bullying. It's still emotional bullying, even though it's not physical. It affects, and I think that's what the Hay Foundation, we want to target. We want to target students in primary, secondary schools. These students have their parents not around. They have broken homes. They can't talk about it because they are kids. I mean, who am I? Can I walk into a counselor's office and talk about it? How many counselors do we even have in primary school?
I just wanted to add that the most important thing is understanding yourself, because before you can even give advice to people who are having issues, you have to have some sort of experience or be able to relate to those things. If you are not aware of how you, the person, you function, you can't even know what to do as a coping mechanism. A lot of people, I think, compare themselves before they can see how they should solve their problems. If he is going to a pastor, then I'll also go to a pastor. I should be able, and we should all be able to, as people, identify what works for us before we can go on to help ourselves and help other people. Because if we don't even have that knowledge, it won't even help anyone.
So join our team, Hay Foundation, and we'll also...
Okay, I also believe that with the issue of mental health, I don't believe in talking to experts alone. Because if I go to talk to the experts and then the advice or something, the counseling goes on well, I'll go to another depression again because I'm still not there, you understand? So I believe it has to do with self-empowerment. When I come to you for help, it doesn't mean I'm helpless. I can help myself. So empower me to be able to deal with my own situations before I walk up into your office for counseling.
Okay, that's important. Empower yourself, self-empowerment, because if you're not empowered, you can't empower someone. So you're the Hay Foundation team, and where's that?
Okay, so do speak up. Speak up if you have a problem. We are all here. We've all gone through things. We've been able to share. Yeah, you don't have the worst case ever. If you need someone to talk to, you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at the Hay Foundation. We are a mental health vocal support group, and we are here to listen, and we are here to recommend counselors, psychologists, and people you can speak to. So speak up.